The Lord bless you with his sweet and pure, intimate presence, dear heart dwellers. Well, Jesus is kind enough to really give us a piece of his mind and his heart for his church. And that's what this message is all about. We were talking the other day about the church that was burning in France, Notre Dame. I was thinking about, the 300 some churches that had been burnt in France that year. Nobody's talking about it. It's hush hush. Nobody's talking about it at all. And churches in this country are being destroyed and burnt. And at first glance, you would think it's against God's will to destroy the churches. But interestingly enough, he really wants something way different for his church. And he wants to go back to the first century. This is where his heart is. It was done wrong from the time that he left. About the 3rd century, things started going haywire and going in the wrong direction totally. And community, family, churches turned into big cathedrals and expensive projects and political awards on the shelf for people. Political perks for these big expensive cathedrals and everything that went with them. And he's returning back to the 1st century church. There's no doubt about it. So we were discussing this, and I was affirming it. I said, this is how the Lord wants his new church. He has no need for hot shots, alphabet soup, and cathedrals. All he wants is a heart deeply in love with him and unaffected by any establishment. You know, I think I've mentioned this before, but I wish you would all watch the classic movie with Ricardo Montalban, The Reluctant Saint. And you'd understand what he's calling us to, watching this movie. This film hits on and shatters the whole facade of decorum that is used to court the world's favor and lays its motives bare, while exalting the true life and relationship of a soul totally in love with Jesus. I just opened my browser and this Rhema came up. I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the prudence of the prudent I will reject. And that is the very theme of this movie. I hope you look it up and watch it because it really, really nails the hypocrisy that the body has turned into, this church has turned into since the 1st century. When I was ordained, I didn't have a complete set of liturgically correct seasonal vestments. I may have told you this before, I'm not sure. I was going to make them, and at the last minute he burst my balloon and said, no, that's not what I want for you. Use the old ones given to you. Wow, talk about a sucker punch. I had designed them. I was so ready to go. I was really disappointed, but I did obey. And one of the reasons I'm asking you all to watch this movie is so that you will understand his heart for the church. Another place you will read his heart is in the little book, The Little Flowers of St. Francis. St. Francis was like another Paul, except a little bit more dramatic, ebullient with his love. He was just absolutely head over heels in love with Jesus after he was converted, his entire conversion. And he bore the stigmata as well. And many, 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 too many to even count, miracles were done with objects that had even just touched St. Francis. So as the Lord and I were pondering this, he began to speak to me. And he said, do you see why? Do you understand? The institution that calls itself my church has sold itself to the devil. Slowly he conquered, little by little, an organization that was a sitting duck. Why? Because all the true values had been subverted. Men, in favor of reason, lost their hearts for me in order to have the so-called security. The very example I set for them was cast out. Didn't I even include one scribe just so they could see the outcome? The system, Clare, is totally corrupted. And just one soul enslaved to the values of the system is a crack in the wall. And actually here he's talking to me about a dear friend we were considering working with who came from Rome and was very Romanized, let's put it that way. And unfortunately, that puts a crack in the wall because the system had formed this person a certain way and there was no going back on it. And the Lord said, this is what happened to Francis. He began pure, but the system got involved and he lost control of the vision. Today, you may find a few true Franciscans, but they're totally ostracized by the system. I know your heart, child. I know the hearts of men. Keep it pure. It's no easy task. And I know exactly what he means by being ostracized by the system, because we were third order Franciscans in a habit with 4 children, and the system didn't take too well to our radical lifestyle, although we had the bishop's permission to wear a habit. There were some people who were very empathetic with it and others that weren't. But we got plenty of persecution for that, including having CPS on our tails all the time because we looked like some weird cult. Oh, joy. And the Lord is asking me to help him rebuild his church in my own little way, and I'm saying, what do I do, Lord? I'm so weak and afraid. I know I can't do this. You can try, he replied. I am with you, child. I am with you. You smell opulence, riches, and your stomach turns. These tiny brain cells are like red flashing lights. Stop. Danger ahead. These premonitions in your spirit are not your imagination. Rather, they are solid warnings of trouble ahead. I am guiding you, and both St. Clare and St. Francis visited you to confirm you had made the right choice. Do not go back on your choice. This was a lesson for you, dear one, an important lesson. And what had happened when we finally decided the situation wasn't going to work out, St. Francis and St. Clare came and stood on my left and my right and told me I'd done the right thing. So I can't go back on that. I have to keep moving forward and keep it very pure, very little, and no establishment, not even the least hint of establishment. It's just not going to work. Jesus continued, my people, my children, history is being made before your very eyes. The institution that calls itself my church has fallen, but the little ones, the remnants, are alive and thriving. Just as in my day, the little ones followed and were true to me, so is it also now. Finally, corruption has been exposed, and you who love me have taken up positions of support, carrying the truth forward. But I admonish you not to entertain compromise. You have seen what money, wealth, power, and influence have produced over the last 2,000 years. And I tell you the truth, anyone who builds on another foundation, not me, is destined for destruction. It is time for me to be frank with you and say, do not follow the ways of the past. I'm doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? No longer will shepherds be prelates that govern according to worldly ways. No longer will true visionaries be ostracized and belittled. No longer will my people run after knowledge. Rather, they will run after me. I wish for you all to read the life of St. Francis. He's talking about the omnibus of sources here, written by several different people, and the life of St. Faustina and St. Therese, the little flower. There you will discover the true path of littleness and humility, and there you embrace all of me and keep the touch of death and the ways of the world from contaminating you. Clare is living this life to the best of her ability. Although she longs to be more austere, she has responsibilities and certain things are necessary to her. You too can live this way without making major changes in your lifestyles. If you dwell in my heart, you will come to learn the things that you can do without, and how to make the best use of what you receive in this life. If you dwell in my heart, ruthlessly defending your rights to seek me alone, you will find favor and riches, the riches of my heart, as your only desired possession. This happiness is reserved for those who have abandoned the world, because they've been given the pearl of great price. The peace and freedom of this life is an insult to the busyness of the world, and you will find you are living in an atmosphere totally set apart from society's pressures to conform or impress others. You'll be living the truth. No longer will you court the world for her riches. Rather, you will have absolutely no interest in being approved by anyone but me. I am giving you this message today because today is the anniversary of my death, when I left this world to carry on my divine mission. Yes, this message was given to me on Good Friday, and my computer blew up on Sunday, right when I was going to record it. And reading parts of this message again, I'm thinking to myself, is this deja vu or short-term memory loss, or what is this? Because some of these things sounded so familiar to me. So if there's any repetitive line in this that you heard in another message, let me know, because Carol and I stopped recording the message and looked everywhere to try and figure out if I had already said this. Oh boy. 2 things that short-term memory loss are good for. Old movies you forgot you saw and things you did that you wish you hadn't done. Okay, moving right along. Jesus continued, "There are many graces waiting for you who forsake the world. And yes, new graces mean new trials, new victories, and new equippings. You are resurrecting my church in the form I wished it to take from the very beginning. It is not a legal institution. It is an intimate family with a husband, mother, father, and countless siblings. Oh, if only you could encounter just one soul in heaven, you would be so very convinced that nothing in this world is worth holding on to. It only means trouble. That is why souls have sought out the cloistered life of the monastery. Yes, there have been abuses because Satan cannot stand to see true holiness and finds entrance through the weaknesses of men. But still, even in that environment, the holy survive, integrity intact. The idea is to take the pressures of the world off of the brothers and sisters so they can live totally for me, not having to worry about the everyday struggles people in the secular world have to struggle with. The simplest duties are spread out so that all receive a small portion of work, leaving hours and hours free for prayer and contemplation. The requirements are simple. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Luke 10:27. What better environment to do that in than community? This was the intention of monasteries. But wherever holiness is taught, the devil sends in an army of skilled dissenters, hoping to find a weak link and infect the whole house with sin. I have wanted to tell you this for a very long time. Please, do not mock those whom the world calls religious, those who wear habits or embrace a vow of poverty to be free to have me alone. Yes, terrible things have also happened there, but not all who enter are pure of heart. But that was not the original intent. The original intent for leaving the world was to love and serve me without worldly distraction. When a group succeeds at that, it is as if I am walking in heaven on earth. What is the point of all this? Simply to remind you, I came forth into this world in a manger, lived a simple life, ministered simply, and left this world between 2 malefactors. That should tell you up front, I had no need of the world, and neither do you.